Hello, welcome back to the channel. And I'm delighted that today I am going to talk about Ben Hunte again because he is actually, I do find him hilarious. I hope you do too. The revelations about the EHRC keep on coming. And it is so funny to me to see this absolute bananas response from so many of these people who are members of the LGBT lobby, who are finally coming up against an organisation that refuses to fold in front of them, and it just does not compute. It just does not compute. It's hilarious. To update you, since I published my video about Ben Hunte and the EHRC last week. So what happened was there was the predictable outrage about this article that he'd written with these leaked documents that have been publicly available. Look, he went on to the Owen Jones YouTube channel, and I've actually sat through the interview. Owen Jones interviewing Ben Hunte. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a polemicist. I mean, it's absolutely fine to write partial political propaganda and get it published. I've got no problem with that. If you want to write opinion pieces in newspapers, it's absolutely great. The thing that it does not make you is an investigative reporter. And that's what's so funny to me about Ben Hunte, because, you know, if he wants to write a load of this like LGBT lobby claptrap, giving a partial picture of the situation, he has every right to tout that around newspapers and magazines and see if someone will give him a job publishing it. We've got free speech, and I'm a big supporter of the freedom of the press. He is free to publish whatever gobbledygook he likes. The bit that I have a problem with is the idea that this in any way qualifies as investigative journalism.
Ben Hunte, who's senior... Boo! Boo!
Just like that.
Not yet. I was waiting. I was like, when can I just get him when he's just slightly not...
These are professional journalists, competent to broadcast in the media at a moment's notice.
This is, of course, Ben is senior reporter at Vice, used to be at the BBC, and has been doing absolutely phenomenal work at Vice on LGBTQ issues, which the rest of the media simply is not doing its job on.
He's not just a reporter, he's a senior reporter.
So Ben, I just want to start. Let's just start.
What is wrong with him?
Let's just start, because just a bit of context for the EHRC, because it's already before this, for those who'd been watching, there'd been controversy. So this was actually reported in The Guardian, and it was about the politicisation of the EHRC, 5 controversial appointments, people appointed by the Conservative government who, I mean, variously, for example, had been giving donations to the Conservative Party, who have written stuff denying, talking about how it's not right to expect the UK to live up to an unrealistic standard where every individual is non-racist.
Well, it would be great to live in a society where no one held any prejudice at all. However, that would not be what a free society looks like. The way it works is that we make laws so that you're not allowed to discriminate against people, things like housing, jobs, stuff like that, interactions with the state. We cannot compel people's emotions and feelings. We cannot compel people to leave prejudice behind. And why would you want to? Surely it should be something that people freely choose, not something that the law compels them to do.
Just denouncing the racism charge. David Goodhart, who's saying the hostile environment shouldn't be watered down after the Windrush scandal. We could go on. And actually, the former chair of the EHRC says that it's been undermined by pressure to support Number 10 agenda.
So David Isaacs, the former chair of the EHRC is an interesting character. And because he was the chair of the EHRC, his CV is publicly available. So I looked it up. And it's quite interesting that his relationship with Stonewall goes back to 1998. That's when he first became a board member. He then went on to chair Stonewall from 2003 till 2012. So what's that? Is that like 14 years at the very top level of Stonewall? He also is a trustee of the Human Dignity Trust, which is another LGBT charity. This one is one which advocates for people's right to love who they want around the world, which I'm a big supporter of. So it's interesting that he writes his potential conflict of interests out in this application, because you have to if you want to sit on a board. And he does mention how he has this long-standing relationship with Stonewall and the trusteeship of the Human Dignity Trust, and he would be happy to discuss whether or not he should consider his position at the latter charity. So it's interesting that he recognises that he also brought political influence to bear on the EHRC, because we don't appoint people that are blank slates. We appoint people that have gained a lifetime of experience in different sectors with different interests. What happened under his tenure was that, the balance just totally went off towards one side of this argument. And even people who are, lobbyists for this particular opinion, including Adam Wagner, who is a human rights lawyer with a very partial take on this, even he admitted it went beyond the law, i.e. it wasn't recommending what our lawful rights are. It's specifically set up by an Act of Parliament to enforce the Equality Act, not to go beyond the Equality Act, not to create new laws and new rights, but just to enforce and balance the rights that we already have.
Now, as I've said, they came and intervened on the issue of Scotland reforming the gender recognition process. Just quickly, sum that up. What have they U-turned on, and what was the response from LGBTQ organisations?
Okay, so the first thing to remember is that so much has happened in such a short space of time. So 2018, I was stood in Downing Street, in The Garden, in the party with like Theresa May and lots of other LGBT organisations and charities and stuff. And we were all talking about this LGBT action plan, this document, this thick, chunky document that was ultimately going to change the lives of LGBT people across the world.
Again, these documents aren't secret. You can look them up. This document that he's referring to is the LGBT Action Plan, published July 2018. And, it's one of these documents that says that, everyone should be free to do what they want, love who they want. And it prioritises that people need better healthcare. It states that people need to be able to hold hands with their partners, because that's something that people aren't able to at the moment. But it proposed some stuff that was really dodgy as well. Like, it proposed this stuff about gender identity services, and we were going to consult about the Gender Recognition Act, and it also wanted to revise surrogacy arrangements, which is being tacked on to LGBT rights. It's the commercial exploitation of women and children. It's child trafficking. There's no right to child trafficking. So, I think that it's absolutely right that LGBT people should advocate for whatever it is that they want. But equally, we have to take a balanced approach with all of these rights. So it's nice that Ben Hunte thought that this was the dawning of a new age where he would be able to purchase babies left, right and centre and declare his gender changing every second Tuesday. But, That's life.
And there were this list of things that the Conservative government were going to be doing to improve things. That was like bringing marriage to Northern Ireland, same-sex marriage to Northern Ireland, helping with homelessness, helping with mental health issues, all of this different stuff. And one of the biggest ones was around the Gender Recognition Act. So changing it up, making things better for trans people, making it a simpler process for trans people to identify as themselves legally. And what you saw was the EHRC in 2018 really get behind that. The EHRC was leading on documents and guidance and policies saying that trans people should have an easier time just being themselves. Until now, suddenly we've had a change of government.
Is Ben actually a bit hard of thinking? Because he says that we've had a change of government. We've had a Conservative government for like years and years and years and years and years. A really long time. And just because occasionally we get a new leader of the Conservative Party, so we get a new Prime Minister, we don't have a change of government. It's the same government. It's the Conservative government. I think they've been in for 14 years now.
We've had a change of the government-appointed leaders of the EHRC, and suddenly actually they're saying no. The Scottish government should hold off on any changes.
So, given that we've got this national body which oversees the human rights of all of the people that share all of the 9 protected characteristics, and we all share at least one, and they are they are the experts at balancing rights. I mean, they're funded to do it, and so then the government says to them, "What do you think about this idea? We've had this good idea. Do you think we should do it?" And they come back and they say, no, we think that there are unintended consequences and it would be a bad idea to do this. I don't think this is a sensible thing. That's them doing their job. That's not them having a go. They're not being mean. You ask their opinion. That's the opinion that they've given you. They've sought specialist legal advice. They've consulted all their various experts and stakeholders. And the advice is, don't do it.
Of course, this is a devolved issue, so it's something that England and Wales and Scotland are dealing with separately. So Scotland actually was just like, forget England and Wales, we're going to push on with these changes to the Gender Recognition Act and bringing in these rights for trans people. And effectively, the EHRC has just said, no, don't do that.
And it's interesting because a series of organisations like the LGBT Foundation, they've said they're severing all ties with the EHRC. Stonewall, which is, of course, our main civil rights organisation for LGBTQ people, which has been victimised and attacked in the press of late.
Stonewall isn't being demonised and oppressed in the press, Owen Jones. Stonewall is being held to account as a massive organisation who have infiltrated schools, businesses, the civil service, the police, all of our institutions. I think Stonewall had very widespread support up until 2015 when they decided to take on this new battle for trans rights. Up until then, the push for marriage equality was widely supported. It was very, very unusual to meet anybody who didn't believe that we should have marriage equality. And then Stonewall decided to go one step further, which was very, very lucrative. There is big money behind this trans movement, as we know. And since then, people have said, hang on, we didn't go along with all of this stuff in order to end up here. So, Stonewall is not beyond critique. Nobody is beyond critique.
We're deeply concerned by further reports within the EHRC that the board and senior staff are acting against the interests of LGBTQ people. Now, let's bring in your first story. Britain's Equalities Watchdog met privately with anti-trans groups. What's the story there?
Okay, so effectively, the first story was finding that leaked emails and documents showing senior leaders at the EHRC have literally worked to erase trans rights.
They're very, very upset about the idea that the EHRC met with what they call anti-trans groups, because every single group that is lobbying the EHRC for the rights of different groups of people that share protected characteristics have different opinions about things. So, for example, there are people that go and argue for the freedom of religion, you know, that they want to be able to preach their sermons or they want to be able to protest certain things, and the EHRC is going to listen to them. They're not all totally on board with gay rights, because some of those people have genuinely held religious beliefs that, you know, mean that they don't support gay rights, and they have the right to those beliefs. Even if I don't agree with them, they have those rights. This is what gets me about this lobby. It's the fact that they don't believe that anybody is allowed to disagree, even in your own head. So they were very, very upset about meeting with anti-trans groups. And I find it amazing that these two journalists are prepared to go on the record and claim, first of all, that these groups are anti-trans, because I think that's defamation, personally. And to say that they are, that Baroness Faulkner is transphobic, that the EHRC is transphobic. It's an incredible statement to make. It's an incredible statement to make.
I don't even know how else to put it.
So that's it for another video. I really hope you liked it. If so, please give me a like or a dislike. It'd be great to see you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Do share the love, share this video with people that you think might like to see it. If you want to support me practically, there's PayPal details in the description box. I'm going to continue to make videos. If you're enjoying watching them, then that's just a bonus. So take care. I'll see you soon.